Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. Today, we have Bob Wischer with us. He is a visionary leader and is passionate about inspiring, challenging, and encouraging men to break through their status quo. Bob, welcome to our podcast today.
Thanks for having me, Justin.
Yes, we're very eager to get started to learn more about you and how you're helping other people and human beings out there be better and do better.
Yeah, that's my mission. That's what I'm all about. Been doing it for about 5 years now, actually almost 6. So it's been a cool ride.
What made you get into this space of leadership and specifically helping men break through?
Yeah, really all stemmed from my divorce about 10, 11 years ago now. I went through a really hard divorce. A lot of arguing, fighting. Actually, we still have not had a conversation in 11 years. So it was rough. I didn't have a lot of people I could rely on at that point in time, and started a personal growth journey at that point. Started reading some books. Read No More Mr. Nice Guy. If you're familiar with it, Dr. Robert Glover, who was uh, my last guest on my podcast, Men Becoming Better Men, and just kind of took it from there. And then started reading a book called The Truth About Men by Devon Franklin. And I remember the moment, actually, I was walking down my street. I was on a weight loss kick at the time. He started talking about, and I had gotten a little bit of this from Glover about, how men need to be in community, but it really hit me. And he was talking about how men, we get so disconnected between competing for girls when we're growing up, competing in sports, everything's competing, right? And we get into such that mode, and even in the workplace, competing, trying to get a leg up on somebody else in your office. And I was like, "What? That's crazy." I mean, I get it. There's certain parts of our lives, but then we spend a bunch of time alone because we don't have, those good, genuine friendships and connections of other men that we can talk to on a regular basis. And he's talking about how men need other men because there are certain things that we can't tell our wives, our girlfriends, our moms, um, about what's going on with us and in our head, because that will actually signal to them weakness. Women want to feel safe and protected. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I'm not bashing women, but that's one of their core needs as human beings. When we don't show that as men, and we're not able to exhibit it by by when you come home from work and you're angry, oh, my boss made me mad, and then she starts freaking out. She's like, oh my god, he's going to quit his job. He's going to get fired. He's going to quit his job, and that diminishes her level of safety. So she starts freaking out, and then she starts looking around like, okay, where's my safety net? And then in a lot of cases, and I've heard recently, actually, a man I was working with, his wife found somebody else to quote unquote support her, and one thing leads to another, and now they're going through the divorce process. A lot of men get blindsided by that because we think here we are busting our butts, coming, going to work, supporting our family, doing all the things, right? Doing all the things that we think that are what a father, a parent, a husband would do. Meanwhile, we're not being, we're not making her feel safe, and she's out looking for a replacement before. And once she gets on that path, it's very hard to get them to turn back.
Damn, I love how you said that and you mentioned that about how us as men, we're not supposed to show emotion. We can't show how we feel. And it's crazy because we're human beings, no matter if we're a man or a woman. We have emotions, we have needs, we have things that need to be met. And it's just sad how people look upon those as weakness or threats to their way of living, like you said. It blows my mind that people can't come to understanding that we're human beings and that we need to have certain needs met in order to survive, in order for us to connect and communicate with each other.
Right. And that's why,
Yeah.
why Men Becoming Better Men came to be, is because we put together a group of men. We'd get together every 2 weeks, and we'd be able to be that for each other. It wasn't touchy feely. It was, here, I'm having this issue at work. My boss is an SOB, or I'm having trouble in my marriage, or I got a kid that's unruly, whatever. And we could get those things off our chest and out of our head so that we could live cool and live, quote unquote free, right? Mentally free, and not burden our significant others with those. Have her freaking out, where we can do that in a safe space of other men who understand and can absorb those emotions for us and in a non-judgmental way and help us. And that we had a strict rule about not giving advice. But in a case where, say, you came to me and said, "Yeah, I'm having this problem with my wife," I can say, "Well, you know what? I had the same issue, and here's what I did. So I'm not going to tell you, do this, this, and this. I'm saying, here's what I did, and then let you decide if that, does that work for me or does that not work for me, and help you in that way to resolve, or get a leg up on whatever years you're dealing with."
Now, is there a way to bridge that gap, or do you feel that there's no way to bridge it and men just need their own support away from their family and their spouses? And I feel that there should be some kind of bridging of that together.
Yeah, it's a fine line. It's a
Yeah,
fine line. I mean, not even with my wife now, there's certain things I'll tell her about, but I won't. I don't get into the nitty. If I was really, if it hasn't happened, but if it did, because I do have a day job as well, a corporate. On those really bad days, where you come home and you just like, my boss or my coworkers or whatever. Now I temper that down with her, just so I don't want her freaking out that I'm gonna come home one day and say, "Oh, I got fired." But I save that for my guys when I do get into a circle of brothers who I can trust and I know are not going to be judgmental. I can let those kind of things out off my chest, so I have somewhere to go with it. So I don't know if that's a bridge, but it's a fine line. But I keep her in the loop, but I don't keep her in that area where, kind of got to measure what would potentially make her feel unsafe or unsecure
okay, I kind of
versus
understand
taking it to the
that.
guys.
Being careful with kind of what you bring up and how you bring it up.
Yeah,
I guess that could be very detrimental to the relationship. And I'm still trying to figure this out myself. I mean, it makes sense, but like in practice, I feel like it can kind of be hard based upon maybe the person that you're with. Are they the right person to trust certain things with? Or do you have to figure out how to have these conversations with them? Or do you?
yeah. Oh,
You have your
absolutely.
support team. How's that work? I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you're exactly right. It just depends on the person. I mean, my ex-wife probably couldn't have. There's probably a lot of things I said and did in that relationship that I shouldn't have said and done. And again, all transpired with her not feeling safe, her not, feeling whatever, and our relationship deteriorating. So now my wife now, I can tell her a lot more because she's a lot more resilient. She can handle those things a lot better than in the past. I don't worry about it too much, but I still am cautious to what I use or what I tell her and what I keep with my guys,
It sounds like you had some growth between your ex and the person you're
for
with
sure.
now to have that clarity of understanding.
Yeah. Oh,
To
and
pick
like you,
someone who's resilient.
like you asked too, it's the person too. It, that
Yeah.
it's the person that you're with. If you're with somebody that's strong and resilient, my ex was actually very very opposed even from day one of me having other friends.
Red
Yeah,
flag.
yeah. Well, in retrospect, yeah, it was big red flag. Yeah, when she started telling me I couldn't hang out with certain people, that I should have at that point skedaddled. But we have two amazing kids together, so I can't complain that it wasn't a meant to be thing. So is what it is.
So a question about that is, are those the kind of conversations you would talk to some of your men in the group if that was to come up? How would you
Absolutely.
navigate those conversations with them to make sure they don't do anything like out of character? That makes
Not sure
sense.
what you mean. Like go run and tell her, or
How would you have the conversation with them to help them understand, to see certain red flags and people they may be with, maybe they might not be the right person without them blowing up the marriage or the relationship?
gotcha.
Tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, okay. It's
I know it might be situational.
yeah.
Everyone's different.
Well, you're talking about the men in the group, right? You
Yeah, in the group, then I'm sure that must come up, some stuff like that.
Yeah, again, it just comes back, like I said earlier, it comes back to we don't give advice. We don't
Okay.
like, hey, that's a red flag. It's like, hey, I had this in my previous marriage, and this is what happened. So you might want to
You gotta
watch for,
reframe it.
yeah, reframe, exactly. Reframe it to where now this happened to me. Yeah, just something for you to consider. Not like, oh, dude, you got to dump her because that's where a lot of guys
Yeah.
will go, right? Be like, oh, you know what?
Yes.
No, you can't deal with that. That's
That's really bad conversation right there. I think that was
right.
what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
How can do those conversations go? How did the advice go? But like you said, the guys don't really give advice, just tell them what you've been to, what you experienced, and how you handled it. And hopefully they take what they can from that for their
yeah,
relationships. But
exactly.
like you guys do is having those conversations are important.
And that's how grow generationally. I almost tripped on my word. If you go back as technology has grown and we went from farming culture to industrialized everything, all of those connections that we previously had with our father and our grandfathers and our uncles and you know, we don't get that anymore. We kind of get out of high school and go off
Give
into
up.
the world, and you're on your own, and you don't have those sounding boards anymore. So that's where we're having a group of men around you can do that for you because we lose that. Even in the case of like when you have a group of friends from college, say, and yeah, you get together every Thursday night, you go have a couple pints and have some fun, play some golf, whatever you're doing, but you're not really having those conversations, those important, hey, I'm having this problem at work or I'm having this problem at home or whatever. And those are the ones where when men aren't, they don't understand the quote unquote rules of we don't give advice. That's when you get the bad advice.
Yeah, that's how you don't stand for something or fall for everything. I get that. 'Cause I know in my experience too, I never understood why people did things for just men or just women. I was kind of like, we're all human beings, but having this conversation with you, it actually kind of makes more sense to me and clarifies it. That like men don't know how to have these conversations or who to talk to about them. And they
Mhm.
don't want to feel weak. They want to feel like they're accomplishing, providing, and they do need to have more conversations with each other. I agree on that.
Yeah. And it's not to say we can't have those conversations with women. It's just it's men have a certain ability, I think, in my opinion, men have a certain ability to understand and absorb each other's energy better. Where and even if you're talking to a woman, they sometimes even if if a woman, and again, nothing against women, if she's being very emotional, sometimes we can't handle that. We don't have that capability, that empathy, that empathetic ability to be able to handle what she's doing. Same thing with going back the other way when a man is being super masculine and maybe a little too much on a machismo side, that's a threat for a woman that isn't able to handle that. I mean, I'm sure everybody's different, right? Some can, some can't.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the yin and yang of it, right? Where if we stay in our lanes, our masculine and feminine lanes, it's a lot more. It makes it a lot more easy to get what we need for ourselves and then be able to come back together as husband and wife or whatever and be able to have conversations together that don't need all that other extra stuff in it.
I like how you said that. It's interesting too, because that kind of goes with what you're saying. If men are being emotional, but women are emotional, how do they both handle two emotions together like that? They're kind of clash with each other. Is that what you're trying to say? I'm trying to
Well,
understand.
I well, men only know really a couple emotions. One of them is anger
That's a
as an
good one.
emotion. If a man comes angry to a woman that isn't able to handle that anger, absorb that anger, it's going to push them apart versus bring them together. Say if you were angry about something and you came to me and you're like, you're screaming and swearing and I can't stand this, Bob. I don't know why this happened, and I'm able to absorb that because I understand that emotion. I understand that feeling that you're having, probably because I've been through it before. And I can absorb that and kind of be that conduit for you to transmute that into, out of your body into the ground type of thing and help you eradicate it and get it off your chest. And then we're cool. It's not like you and I have any animosity or angst toward each other. Whereas if you do that with a loved one or a partner, you're throwing that anger at and she can't absorb it. She's like, what's about me? He's mad at me for something. And
Okay.
again, that helps, that puts distance between you instead of bringing you
Okay.
together.
I see that, and I never really quite understood that, but it makes sense now that I look back on, say, some of my relationships, but especially with the anger thing. They're like, "Oh shit, is he gonna hurt me? Is he gonna leave me? Is he gonna do something stupid?" They have this
Exactly.
look of like they don't know how to handle it. But then I've talked with like other guy friends, other friends are kind of like, "Yeah, dude, it's okay, man. What do
Yeah.
we need to talk about? What do we need to do? We need to go to the gym, but to kind of put the fire out a little bit."
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
that actually made more sense to me.
Yeah.
It just kind of blew my mind just now.
Hey, that's what we're here for, man. Hopefully blowing minds.
I'm going through like therapy here, but I don't have a wife or a girlfriend yet. But it's like it gets me set up so when these things do come up, it helps me kind of understand my emotions, how they affect them and everyone else around me as well
Yeah.
during
Well,
those
and also
periods.
it's important to have guys around you when you're dating too, and when you're trying to find out someone, because all indications I've heard from all the single people on both sides, men and women, it's horrible dating.
Yeah,
Dating
it's
dating
not fun.
in the 2020s is horrible. And I'm glad I don't have to do it. But being able to have other guys to talk to, women having other women to talk to, to again get their needs met individually so that when they show up together to have a conversation or go on a date or whatever, you're not bringing that baggage of, oh yeah, my boss is a SOB and all the, you're just more like, yeah,
Yeah, that's
here's the
bad.
good stuff. Here's the good stuff of my life. Not, again, you come into a dating relationship saying my boss is terrible. My ex-wife is terrible. All this stuff. That's where she's going to start pulling back because she can't absorb that
Even I
angerish
would pull
emotion.
back. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
way too much.
yeah,
What's
exactly.
going on here?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't lead with that stuff. Lead with I'm on a personal development growth. I'm learning about myself. I make mistakes. I do, that kind of stuff. And that's where when I counsel women, I tell them that if a man's not into personal growth, personal development, and doing work for himself to try to understand his traumas and his past and anger issues and all that other stuff, I said that those are red flags to me.
I'm glad. I love how you just said that because that's always been a red flag to me going both ways.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because you're not coming from a place of healing or on that journey of healing, but you're just so reactive in things that's so highly toxic and dangerous. I've been that person on both sides of that, and it's not fun either way. It's really detrimental to your health, to health of your family, your friends, your coworkers. It all comes out. It's
Yeah.
so like overwhelming, intoxicating.
Yeah,
It's kind
and
of
the sad part is that we all have something because we've
yeah,
all experienced, even as simple as was so an example that I use, but just even like you bring a report card home in third grade, and your mom or your dad says, "Well, don't you think you could do a little better?" Now that seems like a very innocuous type of feedback, right? But
toxic.
you can take that to mean you're horrible, you're no good, you're worthless, you can make that meaning of that tiny little
Uh,
comment, and that one tiny comment can, you know, affect every conversation, every relationship you have for the rest of your life if you're not careful.
that is so true. Wow, I love how you put that because I've seen that with people too is in my life and what I do. It's those little things. Sometimes you have to be careful how you approach things, how you say them. Like we're
Hmm.
all going through stuff. And
Yeah,
let me tell you, that's a hard thing for me to say than actually do sometimes.
yeah,
I myself come from that ground of like reactiveness.
yeah. And a lot of times, well, parents, where we don't know anything when that first kid comes along. We don't know how to do all that stuff.
Oh. And I mean, that's with parenting too. I believe not everyone is meant to be a parent, but everyone has it in them to be a good and great parent. But they've got to do that work to kind of get there, understand where they're coming from, and like that they're raising another life. That
Hmm.
child's so important. They know and see and read all your emotions, your energy, everything. So if you're coming from that place of toxicity and non-healing, the kid's gonna feel that. They're gonna grow up with that, and then you're gonna be that parent you're just talking about. You're not good enough. Like there's some strong and powerful words right there too.
Yes, absolutely.
Moment of silence. Bob, people want to work with you. How can they get a hold of you and reach out to you?
We got Instagram and TikTok, you can find me at the Relationship Engineer.
Nice.
You can also find me on my website is menbecomingbettermen.com. If you can see it in the background there. I'm also starting to work on putting a new group together. It's be an online group. It's called The Circle. It's for men that feel trapped, disconnected, or like life has become a never ending cycle of work, responsibilities, and silent battles that you can't win with anyone. Um, it's designed for men like that to come together who refuse to settle and want to break free from old patterns and step into a future filled with confidence, clarity, and deep relationships. So just starting to get that off the ground, starting to put it together, market it a little bit requires an application, obviously. And if you go to my website, menbecomingbettermen.com/the circle, circle, all one word. You can check that out, see what it's about, and apply for it that way.
That is absolutely amazing. I like what you're doing because I feel there's so many people out there that need help and assistance. That's kind of why I started this podcast.
Uh-huh.
Like it started first because like the people in like my realm, they're coming from that unhealed lack of understanding what they could do and be better human beings, but they don't know where to turn to, or it's kind of like a stigma in cybersecurity. We're like, oh, I'm very technical, but I don't need help. I don't need your help. I have no one to reach out to or talk to, you know? And
Yeah.
there's a lot of men in that field, and I know a lot of them that feel that way. I've talked to them. I'm sure they could use your help as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's and I don't think it's industry specific for
No,
cybersecurity
it's not.
because I've worked in the automotive industry for 30 years and it's the same
I'm
way
just
there.
throwing that out there.
Yeah, everybody's got the same issue. We all think that we can handle everything on our own, but that's like I said, being in a community of men where you can quote unquote let your hair down. Not that you and I have very much, but
Wait, what you talking about, Willis?
I started to say that, and I looked at you, and I looked at me. I was like, "Oh, we don't have there." But anyway, be able to be who we are, right?
Yeah.
And have that camaraderie and that brotherhood, that fellowship. A whole iron sharpening iron type of thing. Being able to be there for each other and support each other in that way. And it's just I bet, like I said, we started it in person. It's been 6 years ago now, and it's been absolutely awesome. I wish every man around the world really could experience it. I know there's all kinds of men's groups out there now, so maybe mine isn't the one for you, but I know here in the States there's hundreds of them all over the place, whether they're online or in person or whatever. I'm sure you have the same over there in Europe, but I highly recommend that every man gets to be a part of that. I know you can go play golf with your buddies all you want, but that isn't really what you're focused on. I was telling my wife the other day, I get together with a friend of mine and we go and shoot pool every once in a while. And she's like, well, aren't you talking to him about all this stuff? And I said, no, because I'm competitive. I'm focusing on the pool table. I'm focusing on the game. It's hard to have, actual emotional conversation or take that type of conversation with
Right time
somebody
or
when
place.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Whether you're doing it on the golf course or shooting range or whatever, it's hard to do when you're focusing on something else. My brain doesn't work that way
Right.
anymore. Getting too old for that.
Very true. If there's someone out there who's suffering and they're not sure how to reach out or what would be the next step for them to do, what is some really good advice you can give them, something that they can do to kind of take that first step in their life to kind of start healing and moving forward?
Well, and I don't give advice. What
That's
what
not
I
what
did,
podcasts are for.
what I did, what I
What
did,
did you do?
like I said, I found the book No More Mr. Nice Guy. And if you haven't read it, it's a book for men. And the funny part about it is every man I've ever suggested reading it has read it and come back to me and said, how did Dr. Glover know to write this book exactly for every single issue I've ever dealt with, or every single doubt, fear, anxiety, everything that I've ever had or thought of since I was a kid? He put in this book. It's because we're all the same. We're all the same. We're all wired exactly the same way. And we make meanings of things that happen to us. And we usually somebody actually said this earlier today in a group I was in, about how we tend to focus on the bad, not the good. So we take those bad things and we chalk them all into our shadow, right? And our shadow sitting back here going, telling us all these bad things, and making us feel horrible and I can't do it, or imposter syndrome. I've heard a
You're
lot
not
of
good
lately.
enough.
Yeah, you're not good enough, and that's all that negative stuff that we focus on. If we were able to be in community, in groups of men and or women, to be able to, and women have figured this out. Actually, that's one of the reasons when I started the group, I was looking online for local men's groups, and all I could find was women's groups. And I'm like, wait a minute, how are the women doing this right? And we can't seem to figure it out. And men are committing suicide 70%, of the time.
Conditioning for way too long. And I like how you brought that up because there are a lot of women support groups out there for so many different things. A lot of men, I don't like using the term, but I like to say human beings. But a
Yeah.
lot of men, since we're talking about that, they just, like you said earlier, bottle things up. They keep it to themselves. They don't feel like there's anyone to talk to. They're like, I'm not meant to let my emotions out. As into it, like, for example, myself, I'm both emotional and logical. I'm like both, like, that's, I'm on the spectrum, obviously. But it's just, I understand how this works, but a lot of people, they don't get it. They're not able to connect with people to help them understand, to help them bring these things out.
Yeah, because a lot of those
Fortunate.
things, a lot of the meanings we make about those things that happened in our childhood, or was, I have to figure this out on my own. Yeah,
Yeah,
suck it up. Exactly. Suck it up, figure it out, rub some dirt on it, keep going, don't cry. All those things. All
yeah.
those things tell us that no matter what problem I'm facing, I have to figure it out on my own. And that's ridiculous.
I agree. It is ridiculous. And like we said earlier today, like, you can find the right partner that would actually understand, but some of us don't find the right people to be with. We find those people to the point that we are healed is the point where the people we connect with.
Yeah.
That put
Yeah.
that in the right context.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the more you work on yourself, the more you heal yourself, the different people that you connect to and how your tribe just kind of changes, and just letting people know that. They know that just because you're a man doesn't mean you can't go through this. I mean, you can't heal. Doesn't mean you have to be like this the rest of your life. You know,
Absolutely.
you can heal, you can change. You're a human being and you're so full of great aspirations and amazement.
Yeah. Yeah. You can do anything you put your mind to. Literally, you can do it.
You
Just
really
gotta,
can.
yeah. But without the right support, it makes it 10 times harder.
Ooh, that is key right there. Yes. I know so many people and myself have had the wrong people in our lives, the wrong support system. Like, oh yeah, these are my friends. We go out and drink every day. I'm like, okay, you go out and drink every day. What else do they do? When shit hits the fan, are they there for you emotionally, supporting you, helping you through things?
Mhm.
Well, no, they're just there to go out and drink. So those probably aren't the people that are going to be there long term. Those aren't your friends. They're the people at that moment in that time of your life until you grow and heal, keyword there, grow, and
Mhm.
then you find better people in your life to help support you.
Absolutely.
For what I know, I'm just a guy on the internet.
You can't believe everything you hear on the internet.
Yeah, I can't believe everything you hear on here. Bob, before we go, is there anything that you haven't already said or that you would like to repeat that you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Oh, just if you're any man out there struggling in his marriage, or that wants to build trusting relationships, or aligning his ambition with his values, I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to have a conversation and see if we can point you in the right direction, and get you the support that you need. Because again, nobody can do this stuff alone. It's better to have people in your corner, and that's what I'm all about.
Hell yeah, man. Well said. I could have said better myself. I'm not crying, you're crying. Well, thank you again, Bob, for coming on here.
All right, sounds good.
All right, bye, Bob.
Take care.